Am I audible? Okay. So we have started discussion on the CSS, right? And I think we have discussed some of the introductory aspects. So let us quickly review it. So basically, CSS is a cascading style sheet, which is W3C standard. W3 stands for World Wide Web. So it's basically W3C standard for uh, defining the presentation logic for HTML documents. So basically, CSS is a technology which is applied on the presentation aspect. So it gives you the look and feel, or it gives you the desired positioning, the desired like Z in depth, etc. So basically, it is dealing with the presentation aspect of any web page. So initially it was a CSS2. Nowadays it's CSS3. So basically, there is a difference in these two. CSS3 is more advanced. It has more power to select the elements, more power to present the elements. So I don't think this is required to be discussed. Okay. So this is just the historical development of CSS. Uh, it started in 1996, then CSS2, 1998, and then in recent last 10 years, we are still in the CSS3. So there are mainly three steps to integrate CSS with your document. First, you require a document, obviously, the HTML document which you want to present. Second, you will identify what are the elements or the styles you want to apply, what are the themes you want to apply over to that document. And then you will connect this style with the document. So these are the three steps involved. So you require HTML document, you require CSS document. And obviously you require a connection between HTML and CSS. And that is being done using the help of various selectors available. So what do we mean by selectors? Selector is basically a mechanism by which you can select you want to apply a style, but on which element you want to apply it. So for example, the simple tag can be a selector, or selector can be any hashtag or ID, or it can be any class or even pseudo class. We will discuss what do we mean by pseudo class. So these are the various options, various types of selectors which are available. Normally, we use an ID selector if that particular element is unique inside the entire document. We use the class selector if you want to repeat the same style for multiple elements in HTML document. And if you want to apply a generic style, that means a style to all the p tag, all the h1 tag, then we write it without using any selector. So in that case, the style will be applied to all the selector. We'll discuss the practical aspect. Means there are three ways now. I don't think I have discussed it or not. So I will write h1 font size 3em, then h1 id, or let's say header 1, font size is 2em, and then I'm writing h1 header class 1, then let's say font size is 1am. So now let us execute this file and let us try to understand that what is the chronological order, or what is the preference which is being given to whenever you are executing any code, what is the preference of applying the style. Okay, so this is our document, HTML document which we have created. Now let us inspect which style is applied over here. So see this header 1. Now header 1 is font size 3 EM. We'll discuss what do we mean by this EM, but right now we are just focusing on how to select an element and what is the preference of selection. Now I'm changing my code and applying a ID to that header, right? Just for differentiating it, let us do it like this. So now you should understand that the style which is being mentioned under the ID, that will overwrite the default style. So whenever you write something with the ID, that will overwrite the default style. So whatever, if my H1 size was 3 EM over here, because I have mentioned some ID to header 1 and I have selected that H1, then the ID will be given the more preference. Let us discuss about the class. Okay. So now I am applying both, and here I am applying only class. Okay. So now let us see this. Now if you see, so you can see now again that header is given the, the ID is given the highest priority. So whenever you want to apply a style, then you should be aware about this fact that which particular selector is having more priority. And according to the rules, the ID selector will be given the highest priority. Is this clear? Second priority is the class selector. So if you see this, so this is the plain header. Let me write it. So this is header 1 with class. This is ID and class, and this is a plain one. So now we are creating 3 headers, and see this ID and class, only class, and header 1. So the first priority is the default style. The class will be given the next priority, and if you have anything which is written as a class, ID, then it will be the highest priority. Now again, there you can use the different selector as well. Now, what do we mean by different selector? Different selector means that here you have given the ID as well as the class. So now this style is only applied when H1 tag is having header as header 1 and class as header class 1. So it contains both it should have both the attributes, ID attribute as header 1 and class attribute as header class 1, then this style will be applied. So basically there are numerous ways by which you can select an element. So these all are called selector in CSS. There is something called a pseudo class as well. So what is a pseudo class? Let me give you an example. See, A is a tag which is being used for creating a link. Right. So here we have created a link, right? Google.com. Now pseudo class means a class which is applied by some status. So let's say something like this. So now if I go over there, it will change the font size when I press or when I take the mouse on it. That means it's an hover event. So hover is basically known as a pseudo class. So there are different uh, versions which are available for selection. One is ID selector, class selector, and the pseudo class. Pseudo class you can write using columns. So these are the different options by which you can select an element. Then you have a selection by the parent-child relationship as well. Let me give you an example. Now I'm removing this header and a class so that you can understand the concept. What do we mean by parent and class selection? So let us say we have this H1, H2 and H3, and then you have something like this. And again I have some H1. Okay, so by default it looks like this, right? Now I want to apply a style when header is inside the div. So in that case, I'm writing something like this. So what it has done, I think the color is more suitable for something like this. Okay, so what it has done, it has changed or it has applied the style on those header which is under div, right? So if you observe this is how it is. Now let us change it. So now I'm putting my header inside another p tag. Okay. Actually, header cannot be contained within a paragraph, so I don't think this is a right way. Remember, there are some rules. Header can be header only. It cannot be it cannot be contained within the p. And these are, see again, it will not stop you. If you see this, the HTML has done, and there is no like it's not like a compiler. Well, it will give an error. But what it has done, it has put this H1 outside this P. If you see this, P contains nothing. Even though you have mentioned P inside header, but header is not within a P when it is being rendered on a browser. So that is basically due to the standards which are applied, and standard says that your header cannot be contained within a paragraph. So let me give you another example. Let's say we have a span, right? And okay, so by default it looks like this. This is a span text. So let's put it on a new line so that you can have clear understanding. Dr is the tag which is used for a new line. Okay, span is the tag which is used for displaying some text, inline text. Whenever you want to display some inline text, then you can use the span tag. So these are some tags which can be used. Now what we want to understand is, let's say we have a paragraph, then span. Okay, and I'm changing my style, something like this. Okay, so it's a normal behavior. But now let us uh, okay. So whenever you want to restrict that, see, if you simply write this, let's say you are writing div span, then it will not check whether the span is a direct child of div, and it will apply the style on all the span which is there inside div. But sometimes you want to restrict it, that you don't want to apply on all children, but you want to apply a style on a direct children. So what you want to apply a style for all the span which are direct child of some div tag, right? So the style will be applied on the direct children. So this is how you can use these various combinations of selector to select an element from an HTML, and then you can write the styles which you want to apply based on that selection. So this is the first thing which you should understand, that styles are applied based on the selection, and there are various options by which you can select a particular HTML element from any HTML document. So I hope this is clear. Next thing is you need to understand how after the selection is over, then how you are applying the style. So there are numerous options available. Like most of these are key value pair. So you have some key which gives you the type of the property which you want to apply, and then you have some value which is the actual value of that property which is to be applied. So this is how it is to be written. It should be separated by semicolon, and it should be ended by, it should be separated by colon, and it should be ended by semicolon. So this is how you should write it. Then how to attach it, step 3. So I told you in the previous session as well that there are 3 ways to attach. First is you write the inline styles. Inline means you apply the style by that within the tag itself. Then second is embedded style sheets. Embedded means that you are mentioning the style within a document. So whatever you write over here between this style tag, that is called an embedded style. And remember, this style is not necessary. You can write only here. You can write style anywhere. Okay, so if I write here, so let's say I'm writing style italic. So see this. So it can be anywhere within your document, but it has to be before the tag which you want to apply. So let us check the other version as well. Can I write it below the tag where it is being used? So let us write it here and see what happens. Okay. So it can be written anywhere. But the point over here is that you should write within a style tag, and the syntax of that should be preserved. So that is called an embedded style sheet. And finally, you have the third version, that is called external style sheet. Now, external style sheet can be included in two different ways, and I think this is mentioned over here. So the first is using this link tag, and second is using import. So in import, you will write URL, and in URL normally we write the path to the style we want to apply. Remember, whenever you want to put a comments, this is how you can do for HTML, right? You can write this syntax. That means for any comment, you can write something like this. Anything between these two symbols are considered as a comment. So these are the two ways by which you can include the styles. So external style sheet, first is using link tag. You can directly give the path, and second is using within a style only, you can use import. And here you can use any external URL, not just let's say normally we want to integrate Google Fonts. So you will find in many literature that websites or the projects are using Google Fonts. So let's say I want to use this font. Okay, so there are different ways of doing it. One is you can download the entire font directory and you can upload it. Second is select it, and then Google will generate this kind of a link. Okay, so let's say, or it can also generate this import URL as well, right? So this is a link URL and this is import URL. So let's say we are using this. So we'll use that over here, right? We also include this style just for right, and then I can use this font. So let us write font family. LANGAR, LANGAR. Okay. Okay. So this is how you can also include the external styles at anywhere. Means you can include styles from anywhere all over the world through the internet. It's not that the style has to be there within the source code of your path or your source code only. So I hope you have understood this, that how to include styles, and by that time you should also understand that how to include Google Fonts within your any application. So you must use this. Google has very good library of fonts and you can easily use it. So you have to just select the font, and then you can integrate it using a by using this link. So that was about the selection and including the styles within your document, HTML document. There are three ways. You should also understand the priority. I think that we also have to discuss in the previous class as well. The priority, the inline style will be the highest priority, then comes the embedded styles, and then comes the external styles. But again, in that case as well, I think this is also needs to be understood. So let us consider this use case. We have written a div block 1, right? and then we are saying border 1 pixel solid and the color is black. Right, so what we are doing, we are applying a style on this particular block. So what we want to understand is that let's say this is my that block. So I'm writing ID is equal to block 1. And then I'm saying style border is 3 pixel solid and red. So we want to understand that the style which is being mentioned with the ID is a higher priority or the inline style is higher priority. So let us understand it. Right. So even though your tag contains the header, so we have discussed that the header has the highest priority, but that is in the context of the tag, that is in the context of a selection. But in context of the applying the styles, the order of application of that style, then this is the order that the inline style will be always given the highest priority. So in your project, you should always use inline style if you require some specific, sometimes we write the generic one, but then you require some mechanic, some kind of a tag or some block of code, which requires very specific style or a look, then only you should use inline. Otherwise, the other style should be there in the document or it should be embedded only. So I hope this is clear. Okay. Now how it works, basically it is inheritance which actually affects these styles. So at top level you have an HTML document, then you have header and body, then inside body you have number of different tags, and certain properties of parents are passed on to their children. There are certain properties which are passed on to their children, so that is to be understood. And which property are inherited? Styling, text or font. So these are, I'm not saying these are the only two properties, there are other as well, but there are some properties which are inherited. Inherited means that if you apply a style to body text, it will be applied to all the content within that body. So let me give an example. Let's say I'm writing okay. So remember, this star means you are applying to all the tags. So let me comment it. For CSS, the comment is the C style multi-line comment. This will also work not in CSS, but I think it works in SCSS. So in that case, the // will not work in CSS. The only way by which you can comment is this multi-line comment. So see this. We have applied the font, this Times New Roman, to only the body tag. But if you see, this div tag also inherited the font as Times New Roman because the div tag is within the body tag and body tag has the font as Times New Roman. So that is inheritance. I'm not saying all the properties are inherited, but there are some properties which are inherited from the parent. So that is another thing which you should understand, and you should keep this in mind while styling your document. Properties which are not inherited: borders, margin, paddings, backgrounds, etc. You can find out this other as well. So in general, style sheet hierarchy goes like this. You have some browser default setting. Then you have a user style setting. Then you have linked external style sheet. So using link element or something like that. Then you have imported style sheet. So something which is using import within a style tag will be the next priority. Then embedded style sheet. So within a document, you have mentioned something within a style tag, that will be the next higher priority. And then inline style. Sometimes you want to overrule some style at any point of time. So like we have said that border has to be red, it is mentioned in inline style, but I want to overrule it, and in any case I want to make sure that border should remain black. So for that you can write this important, but that doesn't mean you should write important everywhere, because in that case it will create a complexity, because again you are writing important here and then you are writing important here as well. Right? So important has to be used with care. Otherwise, your all the style will be containing important, and then you will come up with a kind of a style which actually does not carry anything. Means you will not actually properly able to use important. So it has to be used with care. Same styles applied to the group of selectors. So we have discussed that there are selection that you can group as well. So let's say you want to apply same style to H2 as well. So this is called a group selector. So now you can see your header 2 also contains the same style which is being applied to the header 1 using this. So you can write it using comma. So all the selector, if you want to apply the same style, then you can write it using comma. Okay. Now, why should you group them? Because obviously, when you are writing a presentation logic, then there are something which should look similar or which should have some similar property. Sometimes, not necessary that all the properties are similar, but let's say I am having one property which is similar. Border bottom ppx dotted and orange. Okay, so I have some property which is similar, then I may have other property which might not be similar, so that also is possible. So what you have written over here, that your border bottom is similar for all the header tag, so that you should write in a single block, so that in a future if you want to change to some another color, then you can easily do it. So that can be applied to all the tags. So that is one thing. Second thing, when you are writing like this, it doesn't mean that you cannot write another text decoration. No text decoration, but text transform uppercase. Right. So when you are grouping styles together, normally it is used that something which is common to multiple, that should be combined and written in a single block, and something which is very specific, then you should write it in afterwards. So this is how you should write the entire style. You should first have the logic clear, means what the presentation you require. Then you should find out the grouping, and then you should write down the selection based on that, and then you can write the actual key and value property. So this is how the planning is to be done. In the subsequent slides, I will quickly overview the various properties which are available. See, this PPT is made in 2011, remember. right? So obviously it's not up to the mark. So, but this is just for these are some basic key values or properties which are applied and which will be applicable. It covers the majority, but still I'm not saying this is the comprehensive. It's not CSS3. Remember, there are other key value properties are as well. So that is not being covered over here. So starting from the fonts and text, you have font family. Font family will change the name of the font. While giving the name of the font, you should note that when you are giving a name, and if your name contains a space, then it has to be written within quotes. Right? This is mandatory. So you should write it as a single name. If it contains space, if it is a dash, then it's fine. But if it contains space, then you should write it using a single quote or even double quote. Then font size, there are this is affecting the size of the font. When you have a size, then you must have a knowledge of the unit. So for CSS, there are different units of measurement. So let us review that. First is a PT. PT stands for points, and mathematically it is 1/72 inch in CSS2. Then there is a PC. PC stands for 12 points. So one PC is equal to 12 points. So you can simply say that it's basically 12/72 inches. Normally these units are not used for font size, etc. Then you have millimeters, then centimeters, inches. All these are, you can directly mention it. So that will give you the exact measurement. Most of the time we never use absolute unit unless and until you have very specific requirement. Like you are playing you are creating a video player, and your video player not going to change even though your screen resolution changes. So when you have that kind of a requirement, then only we use an absolute unit of measurement. But most of the time we use a relative unit of measurement. Now relative unit means that first is with related to the pixel. So that means it is with related to the screen resolution. Then second relative is EM. It's a unit of measurement equal to the current font size. So let's say I'm writing font size is 12 pixel, and then I'm writing font size is 2EM. So what it will do, I think you will get an idea if I write I remove other font size actually. So let us remove all this. Okay. Now, what we have done, okay, let us again change it. Header 1, header 2, then this. So this is another unit which is REM, which is So if I see this size of this H1, if you see this, font size is 2EM. Actually, initially also it's by default also it's 2EM. So let us change it to 3EM. So this is my user agent style sheet. So there is a user agent style sheet, means that style sheet or browser default style sheet, something like that. So H1 has its own style font size defined, like font size of H1 is 2EM. So whenever you write something like this, then this EM is with respect to the relative size of a font. So if this is 12 pixel, and when I write 3EM, then it's actually multiplied by 3. So it is equal to the 36 pixel. So let me change this and let us see what impact is created. See. So EM is basically, one EM means the default size. So when you write, so in multiple of that default size, accordingly, the unit will change. So EM is a unit of measurement equal to the current font size. That means 1 EM is equal to the current font size. So if I change 1.5, remember you can also give the values in fraction as well. So if I write 0.8, that means it is 80% lesser than the current size. So this is the relative unit which is also used. So these are the various font weight. Font weight is bold, etc. Font style is normal, italic, etc. Font variant, small caps. All the letters are capital, but they are small capitals. And then you can combine all this together using a single key, that is using font, where you can apply font style, font weight, font variant, font size, font family. So you can mention all this together as well. So it's something like font, where you can mention the font size, so 12 pixel. Okay. Then font family, so you can write this. So this is how you can write. I think that way you have written in here border. So there is border size, border type, and border color. So this is how you can do it in font as well. If you want to change the color of the font, then color is the property. Color you can mention in these 3 different ways. Either you can use the name of CSS name of that color, or you can use the 6-digit hash number, or you can also use 3-digit hash number. 3-digit first is red component, green component, and blue component. 6-digit first 2 are red, for second and third and fourth are green, and fourth and fifth are blue. So FF000 means this has the highest red component, all components are 0, so that means this is a red color. Then you can mix this together to generate various combinations of color. This we have discussed, means every A within a P will be selected. First child of P as A will be selected, and sibling plus is also used for a sibling selector. ID selector we have seen, class selector also we have seen, right? And then there is a preference. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll discuss one more class on this CS, and then we'll discuss something else which is not there in this PPT. Okay, that's all.